Welcome back to another episode of the Phoenix Truth Rising Show. Here, you're going to go into part 5 of Creation, the Sacred Universe, Incubation of the Phoenix. And we're going to continue on with the wonderful creation story. Possibly you are beginning to comprehend your oneness with other forms of life. For me to tell you with limiting definitions that you have a cell of self, that I represent an element or a focus of your collective consciousness, would actually be less accurate than to say that I am simply extraterrestrial. You see, I meet all the criteria of the latter term, and that I do come from outside your planetary field of influence. I bring instructions to your race from the directive organ of what would be identified as a galactic being. Until you understand the totality of your being, you will recognize me as only that which is without your beingness. You will only recognize the oneness as you come into total perception and truth of the reality of your true being. As forerunners, hosts of the heavens, our mission is to remove the film which screens your present condition and your true nature. Our mission is to assist you ones in bridging the gap, to awaken you from sleep, to bring you to the fulfillment of your destiny. Being etheric in my natural state as one hATONnn, I have no need for verbalization, but it is all but impossible for any to relate what I wish to convey only through the words and concepts with which you are familiar. Your language was designed to facilitate commerce. What we therefore put together with its component parts can only approximate my meaning, but it is that with which we are given to work, and therefore we shall work with it until our meanings are made known in reality. There is another language, more ancient, more conducive to discourse on this level, but you have forgotten it. It is the universal language of light. It is transferred information and is accomplished through the actual projection of living informational units. They are valid impulses of energy frequencies and are without mystical origin and are in fact totally physical in explanation. However, until the receivers rise into the acceptance of conducting the information as given, it is distorted and often colored tremendously by the apparatus of consciousness in a perceived expression of being, not reality. These units of information are at once more specific and more inclusive than are your words. They have been designed to convey organic information of concise yet comprehensive informational content. Simultaneously with this conceptual communication, you are subliminally receiving the same information through the living language of light, though your preoccupation with words leaves you with no awareness of it at this moment. Our work must always focus on bringing a man again in touch with this ancient language. What you have learned to allow when you have learned to allow the silencing of your thoughts and have begun to focus attention on inner vibrational frequencies, you will become aware of a far more comprehensive picture of all that I will be telling you. Until such a time as the life-giving information that comes to you from the source of your being is more readily acceptable, I will work within the limitations of your linguistic structure and translate as accurately as I can, as I am able. At the same time, we must work with that which is perceived by your experience, be it war, lust, greed, joy, and/or peace, etc. Human beings become imprisoned in their concepts, and thus can they be imprisoned into a state projected upon their beings, and will act accordingly to those perceptions and instructions, be they good or bad, joyful or painful, correct or incorrect. You must be in the remembering that words and concepts can be both fallible and misleading. They are not absolutes. Do not confuse them with the realities they represent. No statement that I make can be taken as an absolute statement, for your language gives no absoluteness of definition. This does not mean that I come from a vague place. On the contrary, it means that your words are not precise enough to express the levels of awareness that I am attempting to communicate through them. If we can get the totality of the message through to even a few individual cells of your collective body, these few would be able to translate this information into forms of cultural expression that will bring about your awakening far more effectively than our overt manipulations of the historical process. The message that we reveal is the key that unlocks your own latent informational input systems. We are here to put you in direct contact with the source of all information, for the time is at hand for the remembering. You have slept long enough. Our mission is to bring an awareness to all human beings who are able to respond to a state of understanding prior to the veil of forgetting. The mission is the bringing forth of the truth from God regarding life and uncover the lies as thrust upon your awareness. Ours is to place the information upon the table, and then it is up to mankind to choose that which will be his to hold, however different they may be, whatever background they may have come from, using whatever conceptual structures seem appropriate. These individuals will then be instructed to translate, as with this translator scribe, this awareness into forms of informational exchange appropriate to their respective cultural situations from which individual mankind springs. But always must come the integration of all perception with all other perceptions. This is why we must dwell in the daily flow of events as they impact your consciousness and experience, and cannot dwell only with soul perception. This is because if man is to move to higher understanding, it must be from the aspect of the manifestation of dimension in which he is cast. You of the physical shall deal with the physical, and so on. As this new awareness increasingly filters into everyday levels of human function, and as more and more individual human cells become aware of what is taking place, the change will accelerate exponentially. Eventually, the psychic pressure exerted by a critical mass of humanity will reach levels that are sufficient to tip the scales. At that moment, the rest of humanity will experience an instantaneous transformation of a proportion you cannot have a way of now conceiving. At that time, the spell which was cast on your race through your years past, when you plunged into the worlds of good and evil, will be shattered forever. Even now, with the healing influx of new information, the spell is beginning to lift, and man is beginning to question that which abounds about him. Even as we write, the materializing force fields of bondage and limitation are loosening up as put upon consciousness. During this period of transformation, each of you will have a variety of roles to play. Each of you will translate the life impulse into patterns appropriate to your own environment and express the impulses in your daily life. I can now blend my consciousness with the cells of yours in order to provide you with some